Some mysteries are etched so deeply into the human story that they refuse to fade. They are not mere historical puzzles. They are living questions that haunt our collective imagination. The Ark of the Covenant is perhaps the greatest of these. It is a story of immense power, of divine communication, and of a sacred object that simply vanished from the pages of history. For millennia, its disappearance has fueled a quest that transcends religion and enters a realm of profound human curiosity. Where did it go? What powers did it truly possess? And could it, after all this time, still exist somewhere in the world, hidden from sight? Recently, this ancient mystery has collided with the shadowy world of modern intelligence agencies. Declassified documents have opened a new and startling chapter in the story. The Central Intelligence Agency, one of the most powerful and secretive organizations on the planet, also turned its attention to this biblical enigma. They employed unconventional methods, reaching into the realm of the paranormal. They sought to find the Ark not with maps and shovels, but with the power of the human mind itself. To understand the obsession with the Ark, we must first understand what it was. According to the book of Exodus, it was no mere box. It was an object built to divine specifications, a blueprint delivered directly from God to Moses on Mount Sinai. It was to be a chest of acacia wood, overlaid inside and out with pure gold. Its dimensions were precise: 2.5 cubits in length, 1.5 in breadth, and 1.5 in height. Upon its golden lid, the mercy seat, were 2 golden cherubim facing each other with wings outstretched, shielding the sacred space between them. It was here, in this space, that the very voice of God was said to manifest. Within this sacred chest were kept the most holy relics of the Israelite faith. The 2 stone tablets, inscribed with the 10 Commandments by the finger of God, were its primary contents. Alongside them, according to tradition, were a pot of manna, the miraculous food that sustained the Israelites in the desert, and the rod of Aaron, which had blossomed to prove his divine appointment. The Ark was therefore not just a symbol of God's covenant with his people, it was the physical embodiment of that covenant. The power attributed to the Ark was terrifying and absolute. It was not an object to be treated lightly. It leveled mountains, parted the waters of the Jordan River, and brought down the walls of Jericho. To look upon it unveiled was to risk death. To touch it improperly was to be struck down instantly, as the unfortunate Uzzah discovered when he reached out to steady it. It was carried into battle at the head of armies, guaranteeing victory, and it was housed in the holiest of places, first in the tabernacle and later in the Holy of Holies within Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. The great mystery begins with a profound silence. The Ark of the Covenant is mentioned with reverence and frequency throughout the early books of the Old Testament. It is central to the narrative of the Exodus, the conquest of Canaan, and the reigns of David and Solomon. Then suddenly, it is gone. After the construction of Solomon's temple, its mentions become scarce. The last definitive reference places it in the temple during the reign of King Josiah in the 7th century BCE. Shortly after, in 587 BCE, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II conquered Jerusalem, sacked the city, and utterly destroyed Solomon's temple. The historical record of the destruction is detailed, listing the treasures looted and carried off to Babylon. The Ark is not on that list. This conspicuous absence is the seed from which all theories have grown. Did the priests, foreseeing the catastrophe, hide the Ark away in a secret chamber beneath the Temple Mount? Was it smuggled out of the country entirely, taken on a long and perilous journey to a new, safe haven? The legend of the Ark was reignited for a new generation by popular culture, most famously by the film Raiders of the Lost Ark. The movie, while a work of fiction, brilliantly captured the core elements of the mystery that have fascinated so many. The story takes a sharp turn from ancient history to the clandestine operations of the Cold War. In the latter half of the 20th century, the United States intelligence community became deeply interested in the potential of psychic phenomena, or PSI, for espionage. Fearing the Soviet Union might gain an advantage in this unconventional field, the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency, or DIA, funded a series of top-secret programs. These projects, known by codenames like Stargate, Grill Flame, and later Sunstreak, explored the use of remote viewing, the purported ability to psychically perceive distant or unseen locations, objects, and events. These programs were not fringe experiments conducted in a basement. They were highly structured, well-funded operations that ran for over 2 decades, employing a team of carefully selected and trained military personnel and civilians as remote viewers. The primary goal was to gather intelligence on Soviet military sites, locate hostages, track submarines, and find downed aircraft. The viewers would be given a set of geographic coordinates or a sealed envelope containing a clue, and asked to describe what they saw at the target location. Their sessions were recorded, transcribed, and analyzed by intelligence officers for any actionable information. While most of the targets were of a military or political nature, the scope of Project Sunstreak occasionally broadened to include targets of historical and even biblical significance. The declassification of tens of thousands of pages of documents from these programs in the 1990s and beyond revealed some truly astonishing session transcripts. Among the coordinates for Soviet weapons factories and hidden bunkers were targets that seemed to belong more to the world of myth and legend. The agency, it appeared, dedicated resources to exploring some of humanity's greatest mysteries, seeking answers that conventional intelligence gathering could never provide. One of the most remarkable of these targets was the Ark of the Covenant. The declassified document, dated 29 September 1988, is sparse and clinical in its presentation, which makes its content all the more extraordinary. The remote viewer, whose identity is redacted, was simply given the target, the Ark of the Covenant. The transcript then records the viewer's impressions as they came. The descriptions are a fascinating blend of biblical accuracy, popular imagery, and strange otherworldly details. The viewer described seeing a gold box, which aligns perfectly with the primary description in Exodus. They spoke of it being housed in a chamber, protected and hidden from the outside world, which fits the narrative of it being secreted away for its own protection. The physical descriptions went further. The viewer perceived the ark as being stored within a stone box like a sarcophagus, suggesting an additional layer of protection beyond the chamber itself. They described the location as being deep underground, in a place that felt hollowed out. The psychic impressions also included geographic clues, pointing towards the Near East, specifically mentioning areas associated with Iran and the mountains of Ararat, though the viewer expressed uncertainty. This aligns with a broad range of theories that place the Ark somewhere in its original homeland, hidden away in a remote cave system or a subterranean vault. What makes the transcript particularly compelling are the descriptions of the Ark's non-physical properties. The viewer reported a sense of immense energy emanating from the object. They used words like radiating and described a feeling of power. Most chillingly, they reported an effect on human beings who came near it. The viewer perceived that the Ark could emit light and energy that could be lethal, causing cellular disruption and death. They described it as a communicator with a life source, a direct link to what they termed the builders of the universe. This echoes the biblical accounts of the Ark's deadly power and its role as a device for speaking with God. This remote viewing session presents a stunning convergence of ancient belief and modern paranormal investigation. The psychic's vision, produced under controlled conditions for an intelligence agency, independently generated key elements of the Ark's legend: its golden appearance, its deadly power, its role as a communication device, and its hidden location in a subterranean chamber. It did not, however, provide a precise map. The location remained frustratingly vague, a collection of impressions rather than a clear set of coordinates. The session ended not with a discovery, but with a deepening of the mystery, suggesting that even with psychic spies, the Ark remained stubbornly, tantalizingly out of reach. For decades, these declassified files remained buried in archives, known only to a small community of researchers and enthusiasts. That changed dramatically when the story was propelled into the mainstream spotlight by an unlikely public figure, United States Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Citing her access to sensitive information as a member of the House Oversight Committee, Luna began speaking publicly about her belief that the documents pointed to something real. She brought a new level of credibility and visibility to a story that had long been dismissed by many as fringe speculation. Her interest was not merely academic, it felt personal and urgent. The Congresswoman's most high-profile discussion of the topic came during an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, one of the world's most popular podcasts. There, she detailed her fascination with the declassified files and the broader implications of the government's research into phenomena like remote viewing and UFOs. She spoke of the Ark files specifically, highlighting the eerie consistency between the psychic's descriptions and ancient texts. Her conversation with Rogan introduced the CIA's psychic quest for the Ark to an audience of millions, sparking a fresh wave of public curiosity and debate. Luna's position as a sitting member of Congress gave her statements a weight they would not otherwise have had. She claimed to have had conversations about these topics that she could not fully disclose, hinting at a reality far stranger than the public is led to believe. She framed the search for the Ark not as a religious quest, but as a matter of uncovering suppressed technology and hidden history. Her argument suggested that objects like the Ark might not be purely divine in a religious sense, but could represent a form of advanced ancient technology that our ancestors interpreted through a spiritual lens. This intervention reignited the debate and brought the actual declassified documents to the forefront. People were no longer just talking about the legend. They were looking at the government's own files, reading the session transcripts for themselves. The revelation that the CIA searched for the Ark of the Covenant with psychics has, unsurprisingly, been met with a wide spectrum of reactions. For many, it is a stunning validation of long-held beliefs. It suggests that at the highest levels of government, there was a genuine consideration that the Ark was real, that it possessed extraordinary power, and that it could potentially be found. Believers in psychic phenomena see the Sunstreak program as proof of the mind's untapped potential, and the Ark session as a successful, if incomplete, demonstration of that potential. For them, the story is not about whether the government found the Ark, but that they believed it was worth looking for in such an unconventional way. On the other side of the spectrum is profound skepticism. Critics of parapsychology argue that the remote viewing programs produced, at best, vague and unverifiable information. They point out that the Ark session transcript is filled with ambiguous language and geographic markers that are too broad to be useful. A skeptic would argue that the remote viewer, knowing the target was the Ark of the Covenant, was simply drawing upon a wealth of knowledge already present in culture, from the Bible to Indiana Jones. The descriptions of a golden box with deadly power are not new information. They are a repetition of the existing legend. Historians and archaeologists tend to occupy a middle ground, viewing the CIA documents with curiosity, but not as hard evidence. For them, the primary evidence must remain archaeological and textual. Without a physical discovery, the Ark remains in the realm of myth, regardless of what a psychic might have perceived. The CIA's interest is seen as a fascinating footnote in the history of the Cold War, a reflection of the paranoia and willingness to explore any potential advantage over the enemy. It is a story about the intelligence community's mindset, not a story that provides any real clues to the Ark's location or existence. This tension between belief, skepticism, and academic rigor is what makes the story so compelling. It forces us to question the nature of evidence itself. Is the only valid evidence that which is physical and measurable? Or can human consciousness, in certain states, access information that transcends conventional limitations? The CIA documents do not resolve this debate. Instead, they intensify it. They provide a concrete, official piece of the puzzle that both believers and skeptics can point to in support of their own worldview, ensuring that the mystery of the Ark and the methods used to search for it will continue to be a subject of intense fascination and disagreement. The story of the Ark of the Covenant is a thread that runs through the entire tapestry of human history, from the foot of Mount Sinai to the classified archives of the Central Intelligence Agency. It is a mystery that operates on multiple levels simultaneously. It is a question of faith, a challenge for archaeology, a symbol of lost wisdom, and as we now know, a target for psychic spies. The declassified Sunstreak files do not solve the mystery. They do not give us a map or a final answer. Instead, they add a new, surreal, and profoundly modern layer to the ancient legend. The documents confirm that our fascination with the Ark is not just a romantic or religious impulse. It is shared by the most pragmatic and powerful institutions on Earth. The fact that the United States government dedicated resources to finding a biblical artifact using paranormal means is in itself a remarkable revelation. It forces us to reconsider the boundaries between myth and reality, between ancient texts and modern intelligence. It suggests a willingness at the highest levels to entertain the possibility that the old stories are true, that the Ark was real, that it possessed a dangerous power, and that it might still be waiting to be found. Ultimately, the enduring power of the Ark story may lie not in whether it can be found, but in what the search itself represents. It is a quest for connection, to our past, to the divine, and to the deeper truths that may lie hidden beneath the surface of our mundane reality. It is a reflection of our hope that the world is more magical and mysterious than it appears. The Ark is the ultimate symbol of something lost that might one day be recovered, a piece of sacred knowledge that could change everything we think we know about history and ourselves. So, did the CIA use psychics to find the Ark of the Covenant? The documents say yes. Did they succeed? The evidence says no. But the attempt itself has become a crucial part of the legend. It bridges the ancient and the modern, weaving together prophets and spies, faith and parapsychology. The quest for the Ark of the Covenant will continue, pursued by adventurers, scholars, and people of faith. And now, thanks to a few declassified pages, we know that for a brief moment in time, it was also pursued by the secret psychic program